It's that time again. You see, I have a work hard drive full of movies that I have set aside for the channel, and it's getting a little bit full. So, guess what that means? That's right, it's another timeline week as I clear off some of the things I need to get off of this drive. Yeah, every single day this week you're going to be getting a different timeline from a different genre. And today we're starting with action timelines, and it's Ator! And we're about to find out how these movies are without three shadows of robot heads making fun of them. The saga began back in 1982 with Ator, the Fighting Eagle, by the prolific Joe D'Amato, and was released in the wake of Conan, and the opening gives us a baby boy being born with a birthmark that denotes him as prophesized to end the reign of the spider cult. Zombies Lucas is here as the big baddie, and he's looking for the baby. His mother is killed, so Greba hides the mark and gives the baby to another village to raise that wig. Time passes and Ator grows up to be a waxwork Dracula, and
why can't we marry?
Ator, we are brother and sister.
Yeah, but pretty good reason. Luckily they find out that they're not actually brother and sister.
You both suck the same milk from the same breast, but we are not his parents.
I mean, that's a pretty weird way to explain that, but okay. On their wedding day, the spiders attack their village and kidnapped Sunya, and if any of this sounds familiar, congratulations, you've seen, well, any sword and sorcery flick from the 80s. Ator brings along his bear skunk thing, meets back up with Greba, who then trains him, and he starts wearing a prop from the Gong Show on his chest as if any second now Jamie Farr is gonna just show up and gong Gene the dancing machine. He then gets taken in by Amazons but escapes by teaming up with Rune, and he's almost seduced by a witch before revealing her true look. And I should always stress that when I'm dealing with franchises that clearly take place in a fantasy realm, it's hard to compare them to our specific time frame, so the easiest thing to do is to put them into context. This is an alternate world, not our own, and we're saying that it runs concurrently to ours. So this is this world's version of 1982 then. Ator has to retrieve a magic mirror and ends up fighting a shadow in a pretty fun, super low budget sequence, and they make their final assault, and it seems right to talk about Ator's hair now. Look at this. I don't know if this is a wig or the real deal, but either way, it's pretty damn impressive in its ability to stand up like that. He uses the mirror, which causes the spider guy to just, I guess, blow up, and oh no, Greba is bad, and only set all this up so that he could be the high priest, and it seems right to talk now about Greba's hair. It's easily the wiggiest wig that I have ever seen. It's like lower than Spirit Halloween quality. He falls prey to the giant spider, which just kind of sits behind a rock and moves its legs, so how menacing can it be, really? He then uses the shield to fight it, and when I say fight, I mean they both just stand there, but then finally there's a bit of movement, and it's pretty hilarious, and Ator wins the day, and the spider bleeds root beer. Rune dies, Sunya is saved, and I'm gonna call it a song plays. 2 years later, a sequel arrived, this time cashing in on Conan the Destroyer, and it was 1984's Ator 2, Orion the Invincible, but was released here as the Blade Master. They actually talk about ancient man and call this Earth, so we're seemingly set on Earth here, I guess, and we meet Akranos and his daughter, who also has a gong, and he discovers a dangerous weapon and needs someone to protect it, so he talks about Ator, flashing back to the previous film, and we're told that afterwards Sunya died, like off screen.
Sadly, she died.
And some time has now passed, and the evil Zor has come to power and is seeking the weapon. Zor's helmet is pretty outstanding, as is his mustache, but Mila here escapes to go get Ator to help out. I guess Akranos had been teaching Ator, so I guess that happened after the last film. And there's invisible attackers, which is another hilarious low-budget way to have your villain. Zor's men keep attacking Ator and his crew in outfits that just seemed picked at random from whatever time period they had around, and oh no! Wait! What happened to his skunk bear? Did it die too? Ator teams up with a small village to set a trap for Zor's men, but he's betrayed, and he's taken to Zor, where they intend to sacrifice him to their serpent god. And it is magical. Look at this thing. He kills it, and then they head to the castle, and Ator makes a freaking hang glider. So if this is supposed to be Earth, which I'm saying it's not, then this random sword guy invented one thousands of years before anyone else, and even used modern materials somehow. He gets inside and fights Zor and wins.
Ator, you can't. Zor is disarmed. If you kill him now, you'll be guilty of murder. Wait until he is tried by the High Court of the League of Peaceful Lands.
Yeah, Ator, I mean, things in this realm seem very interested in proper law procedures. Doesn't matter though, because he still attacks and is killed. Ator returns the weapon, which, by the way, is called the geometric nucleus. Like, just find a couple of words and put them together, I guess. He destroys it, which causes a nuclear blast. Oh, so Ator is dead now, because there's no way he survived that, right? But, oh yeah, I guess he's fine. He found a way to destroy it from a distance, I suppose. So they don't say how much time passes in between movies, but enough time had to go by for Sunya to die and for Ator to take up with Akranos and learn some stuff. So I think real time 2 years works. So this is the equivalent of 1984, because I'm saying this is a fantasy world and it is not Earth. They may call it Earth, but it is not our Earth. 3 years later, in 1987, the next chapter arrived with Iron Warrior, although D'Amato did not return and Alfonso Brescia took over. We see 2 children playing and one is kidnapped, and then we're on, like, Krypton or something. Like, seriously, how is this not some sort of lawsuit? Oh, Italy. The witch who did the kidnapping is banished for 18 years, but she's returning now and has a warrior named Trogar. Meanwhile, the village also has Ator, who's sporting a new streamlined look, and Phaedra shows up on the princess's 18th birthday, and Trogar shows up to wipe out the castle's crew and king while sporting this cool skull mask. The princess is taken and they try to sacrifice her, but Ator shows up and fights Trogar, but magic is at play. He saves Janna but keeps coming up against old Bonehead, who constantly matches him in swordplay, and she eventually takes him back to her home village, which may possibly look familiar to you, and that's because it's Sweet Haven, the town from the movie Popeye. It was built here for the 1980 film off the coast of Malta, specifically for that film, and was kept there afterwards, and still remains a tourist destination to this day. They got through a series of battles, encountering Trogar a few times, but then we get the bombshell that's confusing. It's revealed that Trogar is Ator's brother and has been corrupted by Phaedra, but that shouldn't be possible. Ator was taken from his mother as an infant and given away to villagers. He has that sister he wanted to bang, but no mention is made of a brother. So there's 2 options here. One is that this is a separate continuity and a different Ator now, unconnected to the first 2. The second is that Trogar is a brother in the way that Sunya was a sister, and that they are not blood related and were simply raised together. At least until Phaedra kidnapped him. Ator and Janna head to Phaedra's island, and everyone is after these sort of big lament configurations, and the bros finally go toe to toe to the death with Ator winning. Except, they're twins. Well, that settles it. This is a separate continuity and distinct from parts 1 and 2. They think they win, but it's a trick. and he faces off with the witch and burns her, but I guess she lives on in Jannah. Again, there's no time equivalent to compare to the other two, so we're going to go ahead with real time and this world's equivalent of 1987. Now, here's where things get tricky, because in 1990 there was the release of Quest for the Mighty Sword. We're immediately told that the prince is named Ator, and he's married with a young child. Ator is recast as Eric Allen Kramer, although D'Amato returned, and that's why this is contentious, and it's because Joe was angry with Iron Warrior and declared it to not be a true sequel, which is why this film was known as Ator 3, The Hobgoblin in some places. He made this one with the intentions of ignoring the third film and having this be the actual completion of the series, which would leave Iron Warrior on its own and just a separate movie about another guy named Ator. The Sword of Thorin returns and a man comes to reclaim it and kills Ator. His son, also called Ator, is 18 now, so this is a big jump from our previous film. We need time for him to meet Sun and have a child who would then grow up to 18, so we're around 18 to 20 years after part 2, so this is set in the universe's equivalent of around 2002 to 4 or so. In the flashback, they go meet this sorcerer, and it's this creature which reuses the mask from Troll 2, which nabbed this film the prestige of being called Troll 3 in some territories, although outside of the use of this very complex and intricate special effect mask, there's no link. Sun must join her husband in death, and this is pretty messed up. The troll is intended to give her a poison, but instead gives her Spanish fly, so she makes out with it. And Kramer also plays Ator Jr. He's 18 because this is what 18-year-olds look like, I guess, but meanwhile, the actor was 28 or so at the time of filming. Ator vows revenge on Grendel and is unsuccessful at first, but manages to find his sword and uses it to split him in half. He then heads out to avenge his father, taking on a robo thing, and then this slimy dino frees the goddess and rescues his mother, which ages her, and she dies. So I guess, whoops. Evil Gunther kidnaps Dejanira, so Ator has to fight in order to get her back and kills off Gunther, but I guess one of the hobgoblins is still there, and that was the end of the saga of Ator. So there you have it, 4 movies that are fairly notorious, not so much for the movies themselves, but for the MST3K versions of them, which were very, very popular episodes, and yeah, got a lot of play and are probably a much more entertaining way to watch these, although these were very entertaining. Like, I actually had a blast with all 4 of them. The timeline doesn't really make sense because of that whole 3rd and 4th movie conundrum. The first 2 make perfect sense. Like, I mean, I don't know what time period they're supposed to be set in because you've got all sorts of different costumes going on, but you know, whatever. In terms of relation to each other, they make sense, and the 4th movie seems to tie into the 1st and 2nd one fine. The 3rd movie is kind of its own thing. If you've seen these and enjoy them, let me know if you prefer the regular versions or the MST3K versions. What are your favorites? Tell me in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. If you like what you see on the channel, hit subscribe. And please check out my Patreon page at patreon.com/movietimelines. Go there like these guys did. They are all awesome. And I will see you guys very shortly, like tomorrow, for another great timeline.